Hey everybody, a few quick things before we blow the lid off of this this is huge. Super huge story right here. A few disclaimers here that I want to make before we begin. One, this presentation is for alternative news purposes only. I am not practicing medicine, nor am I giving anybody medical advice whatsoever. Okay? Two, you all know me how I conduct my investigations. If I believe that there is no chance for any person that I talk to of being harmed from talking to me, I tend to share those phone calls with you all, right? I cannot do this in this instance. One, because the story is so highly volatile that their lives are in danger, and the people that I talk to are absolutely scared for their lives. And I had to like swear on my firstborn child not to reveal the source of my information, and I've made that promise. I'm going to stick with it. All phone calls when I talk to them, I only kept for the purposes of going over to actually go over the information again in my own head so I could be able to present this to you all, and they have since been destroyed. So, FBI, anybody else, FDA, you want to come at me? You know, do what you got to do, but you ain't going to find nothing. All right? So here's the deal, everybody. I am going to reveal to you why these alternative medical doctors are dying, and I'm going to reveal to you here some of the things that they've made a discovery on. And if you find any of this stuff interesting, please share away with everybody that you know, because the more places that this presentation goes to, the less likelihood that they will be coming to do me in. Why? Because if it's everybody knows it, then what's the chances of them coming after me to keep my mouth shut, right? Okay, so here we go. This has to do with I don't want to call it a product, I'm going to call it a cure. It's called GCMAF. To understand what GCMAF is, I have to explain to you, and I will try to do it in layman's terms of how this was explained to me. GCMAF is a naturally occurring process in the human body. Okay? It starts off as a GC called GC protein. And what happens is in the natural occurrence of the human body, that the GC protein in a absolutely healthy human being will create its own natural GC macrophage activating factor to help protect the human immune system. Okay? Now, what was found is by these doctors is that there is something that's being introduced into the human body that is called nagalase. Okay? This nagalase protein is this. Nagalase is a protein made by all cancer cells and viruses. HIV, hepatitis B, C, influenza, the flu, herpes, Epstein-Barr virus, and others, right? What they found is this nagalase causes immunodeficiency, and it blocks production of naturally occurring GC macrophage, what was the activating factor? Remember, this is all new to me too, everybody. So just bear with me, okay? Thus preventing the immune system from doing its job. Now, as it was explained to me, is that we're talking 16, 17, 1800s. We didn't have problems with cancers and, like we do today. One, you could think of it as being the population explosion. Is that it? No, that's not it. There is something that is being introduced into the human body that's causing this nagalase to block the naturally occurring production of GC MAF. From here on out, I will just call that the macrophage activating factor. I will just call it GCMAF. Okay. So how crazy is this Naga lace? Naga lace precision, like a stealth bomber, the Naga lace enzyme synthesized in and released from a cancer cell or a virus particle pinpoints the GCMAF production facilities on the surface of your T and B lymphocytes and then wipes them out with the incredibly precise bomb. How precise? Let me put it this way. Naga lace locates and attacks one specific 2-electron bond located at and only at the 420th amino acid position on a huge protein molecule, one of tens of thousands of proteins, each containing millions of electrons. This is likely selectively taking out a park bench in a major city with 6,000 miles away. More astonishing, if that is possible, Naga lace never misses its target. There is no collateral damage. What Mr. or Dr. Bradstreet found, considering that this Naga lace blocks the naturally occurring GCMAF production in the human body, he found that with autistic children, that they had a highly elevated protein or a protein count of Naga lace. So then he determined that, and many of these other alternative medical doctors were determining is that the Naga lace surely was causing the autism. That's right, autism. So then they were starting to wonder, okay, well, if this is happening and it's occurring right at the very beginning of when autism is occurring, then it has to be being introduced into the human body at the time of or just before the autism is occurring in the human body, which appears to be at a stage of infancy, not at birth. What does that tell you, everybody? That's right. That the Naga lace inhibitor, that this protein, GCMAF protein blocker, is being introduced into the human body during vaccination. That's right. You are intentionally having your immune system compromised with a vaccination, and some children are automatically coming up with autism, depending on their blood makeup, are acquiring autism. Right here, in the past months, Dr. Bradstreet has become interested in, well, they misspell it right here, interested in Naga lace, which he describes as an enzyme produced by cancer cells and viruses. He thinks it unlikely that children with autism have undiagnosed cancers, and thus suspicion falls on a viral etiology. Dr. Bradstreet writes, viruses make the Naga lace enzyme as part of their attachment proteins. It serves to get the virus into the cell and also decreases the body's immune reaction to the virus, thereby increasing the odds of viral survival. So now, that is why these doctors who have become alternative medical doctors, all of them are doctorates in their medical fields, right? Dr. Bradstreet and others have become huge advocates under the anti-vaccine mantra, right? But why? That's right, because they believe that this Naga lace, which Dr. Bradstreet and Dr. Gonzalez have proven unequivocally is being introduced into the body at vaccination, right? How do they know that GCMAF? So this is where this comes in. Since the GCMAF naturally occurs in the body, but it's being inhibited by the introduction of Naga lace protein blocker, right? which is also causing autism in the young, right? There was a product that has been being worked on in Europe for quite a few years. Okay? These doctors, some of them have secretly been working with this product that has been blocked and is highly illegal in the United States to use because the FDA and the pharmaceutical companies want it kept out of the United States. And it goes by the exact same name as the natural occurring GCMAF that occurs in your body, right? So what they were finding is that this GCMAF treatment product that was being created actually was reversing autism. It was actually aiding the immune system of their clinical patients, and it was reversing tumors, shrinking tumors, curing cancers. That's what they were finding, is that they were introducing the GCMAF to actually hold on a second here, to replace what the nagalase was intentionally blocking from occurring naturally in the human body. And they were working secretly with this. Dr. Gonzalez was highly upset and wrote in his book, What Went Wrong? And he spoke about how they were the medical fields were being stymied in every situation about working with these cures of GCMAF. They didn't know at first that what was blocking the natural occurrences of the GCMAF. It was Dr. Bradstreet's huge discovery that has gotten him killed. That it was the introduction of this nagalase protein in the vaccine that not only caused autism, but obviously was being introduced in the human body to block its natural occurrence. Why would somebody do this? Think about it like this, everybody. If you have let's take the collusion between the corporations of the auto industry and the oil industry. Now, of course, the auto industry, they make cars that go a certain amount of miles on a gallon of gas. We know that there are there definitely are products out there that you could attach to your car to give you higher gas mileage, right? The auto industry knows this. Do you think that they care about giving you a product that's going to give you the most amount of gallons per your gallon of gas, or the amount of miles for a gallon of gas? Of course not, because they're in collusion with the oil companies for everybody to make money. These vaccines, whether they are for any other purpose other than to make money for the pharmaceutical companies and for the treatments, of course. How long have they been working on a cure for cancer? Oh, we're on the cusp of finding a cure for cancer, they say. How many years have they been saying that? How much money have they made off of this slogan of we're on the cusp of finding a cure for cancer? But yet they don't. And they never will, because that's not their intent. Of course, it's all about the pharmaceutical companies and the medical, well, I won't say the medical field, to make money, because they're just doing their job, right? It's the pharmaceutical companies and all of these that are in collusion with each other, that they have created a vaccine that blocks this naturally occurring GCMAF from occurring in the human body naturally. Over in Europe, and I'm going to show you here, right here, GCMAF. There's a petition they have on here also, is to disband the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency and its Big Pharma Board of Directors, which protects the old billion-dollar monopolies of the big pharmaceuticals and ruthlessly closes down effective, inexpensive scientific discoveries. Here is the site right here, GCMAF. What have they found? Autism reversed 85%. Because let me see here. Inflammatory infections, viral and immune diseases, it has been found to reverse those, right? The body's way of becoming cancer free. All with this GCMAF being introduced into the body to replace what the Naga-lace was being introduced into the body to block intentionally. So of course, if a vaccine is being introduced into the human body to block something occurring naturally, of course they don't want anybody coming up with a product that is going to reverse what they have created to do intentionally. Now, the FDA is known to have visited almost every single one of these alternative medical doctors before they died. Why? Is because they have found undercover that these alternative doctors were working secretly and trying to help out their patients survive, to live, to reshrink their tumors, to reverse their cancers, to secretly find because of course they can't do it here in the United States, right? Because they're being stymied by the FDA, by the pharmaceutical companies, and they were finding evidence that autism was being reversed. They were finding, as Dr. Bradstreet found, that this protein obviously is being introduced. The Naga-lace protein is being introduced at the vaccination stage of someone's human life. And that is what is causing autism, right? Is it any wonder then that just last month, and this story was updated July 16th, that this cure, this GCMAF that was being manufactured to be introduced into the human body to replace the naturally, not the naturally, but the Naga-lace inhibitor protein. So they created this GCMAF product over in Europe, and all of a sudden it has been shut down last month. The story was updated this month. All of this going on at the very same time that these doctors are being killed. That's right. These alternative medical doctors are being killed, and the doctors that they work with in the same practice are scared for their lives. Why? Because some of them were right there as though their medical practices were being overrun by Food and Drug Administrative agents. All of them looking to see what it was that they were working with with the GCMAF. They were getting illegally from Europe. They have tried to do everything that they can block from any kind of internet, acquiring through the internet this GCMAF. Now we have the company that was manufacturing this GCMAF last month was overrun by regulatory agencies and shut down completely. Why, if something was effective and was found by Dr. Bradstreet to reverse what was being introduced obviously into the human body at the stage of the vaccine introduction, they do not want anybody to discover or want any of this information getting out, that it is their vaccines that are interfering with people's immune systems, and they're introducing it through the vaccine intentionally. Why? More money for the pharmaceutical companies, and it may be also, and as I said, I had a theory about it being about the blood. Is there a group of bloodlines that are not affected by the introduction of these Naga-lace protein inhibitor? Is there? I bet you there probably is. I'm not going to speculate beyond what I've already talked about right here as to kind of derail from any kind of believability into what we're talking about right here. So I'm just going to leave my theory part out of it if it has anything to do with Rh positive or Rh negative. I do know that not everybody who receives these vaccines acquire autism. Doesn't happen. But was autism a problem back in the early 1900s? Did we even hear of autism? How relatively new is this autism? And why is it only affecting, it's affecting a lot of children, but it's not affecting all of them. And I do believe that we need to further investigate why they are trying to single out certain blood types. Obviously that's what it's doing, right? Well, there happens to be a story that about a Mr. Crone who he is a gay man, and he has just taken his life at the age of 66 years old. And let me see if I can find you the story right here. Now, what I was being told is some very interesting study here regarding this Stephen Crone, who he's since committed suicide. There was some studies that had to do with people who survived the Spanish flu. And what they found is that people that weren't affected by the Spanish flu, who were working closely with people who had it, why didn't they contract the Spanish flu? And it had to do with some kind of receptor blocking, something that was, there's some kind of inhibitor with I don't even know how to explain this to you even right. But something that had to do with the CCR5 receptor. This guy here was one of the classic cases of that he could not contract AIDS. This gay guy right here had all of his the people that he was involved with die around him, and they found that he could not contract AIDS, and he had some of the exact same receptor blocking that some of these people that they discovered that were working closely, and I say this because I guess they exhumed the bodies of the people who were working, that were known to have been working with the Spanish flu sufferers, right? You know, like let's call them Florence Nightingale for the purposes here, but it wasn't Florence Nightingale, but you know what I mean. So some of these nurses or some of the people who were working and knew that for some reason they were not contracting the Spanish flu, working closely with them. And what it turns out is that these people have some kind of, and it's a very, very limited amount of people that have some kind of CCR5 right here. Years later, researchers isolated the cause. HIV gets into the cells by fitting into two receptors on CD4 cells. But thanks to a genetic defect, which they're calling a genetic defect. As a matter of fact, would you call it a genetic defect if something is actually keeping you alive? Right. The second receptor on Mr. Crone's CD4 cells was flawed. The manufacturing receptor CCR5 had no negative effect on his health and kept HIV from getting in. It is these exact same thing right here that was preventing the Spanish flu, as far as researchers have found, that was keeping the Spanish flu from invading some of the people who were working closely with the Spanish flu victims from contracting Spanish flu. So something tells me that with the introduction of the nagalase protein into the human body at the vaccination stage, is that it is not going to affect everybody. So who do they want it to affect, right? That's the question. So with that, I know I've went way beyond trying to explain all this to you and what they have trying to talk. I'm doing the best I can here. I'm trying to help the people who are, not only the people who have died needlessly, but anybody else who they may be seeking to attack behind their findings or any kind of contacts that were made between these doctors and other people, colleagues in their medical field, hopefully it will make those powers think twice before going after them now that this information has been revealed. So I hope you guys can understand this, what exactly Dr. Bradstreet found, what Dr. Gonzalez found, what some of the other doctors, that's why we're talking about Florida. Why Florida? Well, because that's where a lot of his colleagues were that he was sharing his information with. When you're being under investigation, working with this GCMAF, and they know that you are secretly working with it, and they know you have you under surveillance, and they find that you are making contacts with other colleagues in your medical field, and these other colleagues are going, aha, that explains everything now. And all of a sudden, they're contacting a colleague that they may have went to school with in, let's say, the Dakotas. And he comes up missing after he's traveling to see his son over in Wisconsin. Now you can understand why these doctors, all in mainly Florida, these holistic alternative medical doctors, are either disappearing or dying. And it all centers around Dr. Bradstreet and his amazing find about the protein nagalase, how and when it's being introduced into the human body, and how it's caused autism. That's right. How the elevated nagalase proteins are found in people who suffer from autism and all spectral disorders, meaning Asperger's and everything of that. So I hope this helped you all, and I hope that you guys will share away and help me out as well. Thanks, everybody.